Okay. Um, Thank you for being here with me again in our next episode of our here at Dream to Rise podcast. And our special guest is the founder and lead consultant at Davis Business Consultants with a focus on helping entrepreneurs build a better business, a better life, and a better world. And for over 23 years of experience in business growth, mindset transformation, human behavior, purpose, personal development, and success coaching, he was able to help countless entrepreneurs and business owners achieve outstanding results. He is a sought after business mentor by clients, both nationally and internationally, for his combination of deep wisdom, commercially focused expertise, and highly intuitive insights. He takes an holistic approach to the business, personal, and spiritual aspects of clients to achieve rapid and sustainable results. He is also a 3-time best-selling author, an award-winning business coach, consultant, growth consultant, and professional speaker, the creator of the Genius Code, a blueprint for personal mastery, and is dedicated to helping individuals discover their innate genius, achieve unparalleled fulfillment, and make a profound impact with their business. You know what a great pleasure really to have with us a great human being who's always there to focus on helping others. And this is what I really want in terms of the guests I have in this Dream to Rise. And without further ado, I would just like to introduce to you our guest speaker, Paul Davis. Paul, welcome to our episode. And I know you are there in Ireland, and I'm glad that even though there's a time difference, you were able to accept this invitation and be part of this podcast. How are you, Paul?
I'm really good, and thank you so much for having me on your show, Cynthia. It's great to be here, beaming all the way in from Ireland.
Yes, and I'm so blessed and so honored to have guest speakers from all over the world. And because we really have a mission here in this world, and it's not about us, it's about how we are able to impact other people, live the life they love. And that's the main objective of this podcast. So let's go ahead, and I would just like to ask a very basic question, because in this podcast, our story matters so much. And I would just like to ask, can you tell us something about yourself, your story that brought you to where you are right now?
Sure, yeah. I grew up as in Ireland as people would probably expect, as like just a normal upbringing, to be quite honest. Nothing significant in our family. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I left school. So I started working in investment brokers, and there was the finance director there that recognized that I had an aptitude for numbers. So he suggested, would I consider doing accountancy, which I did. And to cut a long story short, I became a management accountant, and I developed my career from the point of view of going into companies and helping them to grow and scale. And then I set up my own business in 2001. With Davis Business Consultants, primarily with the focus of helping small to medium-sized enterprises to develop, grow, and scale. But I suppose on the other side of me as I was growing, so that was the external world. That was what people saw. So, and I'd regularly get comments in terms of how was I able to reach such levels of success? How was I able to turn companies around so successfully? How could I just achieve all the things that everybody wanted? So whether it be the cars, the houses, the holidays, all that kind of thing. So that's what people saw from the outside. Internally, however, was a very different story, because at the age of 10, it was my earliest recollection of having a conversation inside my own mind from the point of view of I just didn't want to be here in this world. So I just didn't want to exist. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to continue. I wanted to check out of life. And from the age of 10 onwards, that story continued in my mind. So although it, everybody again they had no idea that was going on inside my mind. But I would regularly contemplate, plan, and think about suicide. And so that was kind of the story for me. And in some respects, I kind of thought that everybody had the same thoughts as myself. I just didn't know any different. And it wasn't until maybe later on in life, probably in around the ages 30, and I kind of started to investigate a little bit more and says, look, the question that I've always had in my mind was, what's going to keep me alive? What's going to keep me here? And what would make me want to stay living in this life? And anybody that has contemplated suicide or had thoughts of suicide will know it is a really dark place. Nobody wants to be there. It's a horrible space to be in, and it's very, very dark. It's very, very, and it's a mental pain. It's not a physical pain, and anybody that hasn't experienced it really doesn't know and it's very difficult for them to connect with what it actually feels like. But what I developed was, so I'm highly intuitive, as you read in my bio. I was born the seventh son of a seventh child, which gave me, in Ireland, has a lot of folklore around being gifted. And the gifts that I had was highly sensitive intuition and being an empath. So when I was working with clients, I was able to understand and know through the downloads, the insights, the images, and the knowings that I would get for clients from an intuitive perspective of what their life purpose was and what they were here to do, what their mission was, and what the intention behind their life purpose was. And I always wanted somebody to give me the same information that I was able to give my clients. But it never happened. And in order to find a purpose in life, I did what everybody else does. So I, found what my passions were. I completed Ikigai, the Japanese concept. I read Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. I looked at astrology. I looked at my values. I looked at, finding your why and so on. But none of them gave me the answer that I was specifically looking for. And that was what specific was I here to do. So what I ended up doing was I reverse engineered what I was doing for my clients in order to try and find it for myself, and then also for my clients as well. And to cut a long story short, that's now the methodology that I've developed. So a lot of people come to me whereby they're at a crossroads, or they don't know what direction they should go in. They've done all the other things that I've mentioned in relation to finding their passions and finding their why and so on. It's still not giving them the clarity of what they're looking for. So the methodology I developed, I call it Genius Unlocked, because it unlocks the innate genius within an individual. And every individual is born with an innate genius. And also every single individual has a unique life purpose. So by bringing people through the methodology, which I developed into an online program, and now only in the last couple of weeks, I've now released it as a book. And the book is called Genius Unlocked. And it brings people through a set of very, very specific questions to give them the evidence in their life as regards what their true life purpose is. And now, ultimately, I'm trying to reach as many people as I possibly can in order to share that information, because it doesn't exist in the world. It gives anybody that's gone through the program, and even I'm getting emails already from people that have read the book, and the level of clarity and certainty that it's given people that have been searching for years and years and years, and worked with many coaches and many attended different courses and so on. They're amazed at how much clarity and certainty, and it's a deep resonance that they receive. Some people say that it resonates on a soul level with them as regards what's the information that they get in relation to their life purpose. So my whole aim is to try and reach as many people as possible with the book and the teachings.
Wonderful. And that's what we would like to share to other people. That's our objective, really, to inspire and empower other people who are stuck in their dark bubble. But may I ask you, because suicide is a very delicate matter, and it started when you were 10 years old. And how are you able to, I mean, in terms of your relationship with your family members, with your friends, I'm sure you are also in that stage wherein I don't want to s- to engage with people. I don't want you're stuck within yourself.
Yeah.
And how did you reach a point? What was that point when you told yourself enough is enough? I
Yeah.
have to make a decision.
It was at the age of 43.
Oh,
I'm now
40.
57. Yeah, I'm now 57. Nobody in my whole life knew about it. Absolutely nobody. So I married over 30 odd years. I've two adult kids. They're now 30 and 28. But I didn't share that information with anybody in my whole life. So friends, family, even my wife, my kids, and so on had no idea whatsoever that I was having these thoughts or that I had planned and contemplated and all that kinds of things. Um, but what happened was my first brother passed away, and he was 53 at the time, and I was 43.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Who?
My first brother passed away.
Our first brother, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So I'm one of seven brothers.
Uh-huh.
So one of my brothers passed away, and it was quite sudden. So he's brought into the operation theatre. I was there with him after he came out of the operation theatre, and there's nothing they could do for him, the doctors. So over the course of a couple of hours, he then passed away. And but in the moments prior to that, um, he was somebody that wanted to live. Whereas in my mind, I didn't. And in the months that followed, in the reflection and the grief process of reflecting on his passing, it was a case of, here was he trying to live for his kids, and here was me trying to exit living from. So it was that, I suppose that was the catalyst for me to say, actually, you know what, I need to solve this problem. And in solving the problem, I earnestly went to try and figure out as much as I possibly could, not only to deal with the thoughts and to deal with the mindset and everything that was going on, but also in relation to the only thing that was going to keep me here was to have a purpose. It was the only thing that was going to keep me here. So that was the catalyst for me to discover how I could actually find my own purpose. And as
So,
that was the turning point.
so was your brother younger than you are or older than you?
He was older. He was 10 years older than me. Yeah.
Was he close to you? Yeah.
We in our family we wouldn't say I wouldn't say we're the closest in the family in the sense like yeah we've seven brothers, and so I would have had a he would be one two. He was the second eldest in the family.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the seventh within the family
Oh.
from there. So it wasn't close from that point of view. It was 10 years in a difference. But we definitely would have had a good relationship in terms of knowing each other, talking to each other, and all that kind of set of things. Um,
So you're
but
the youngest.
I'm yeah, it's funny. There was eight sons born in the family, so we had a younger brother as well. He's now passed. So he's born with Down syndrome. So he passed at the end of 2023. So I was kind of the second youngest, for want of a better word. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because I'm just wondering, usually the youngest, they are the spoiled ones. No? That's why
No,
I
far from
don't.
it.
Really? Because I don't know. Because the oldest are really more pressured, and I'm the oldest in the family of three.
Yeah,
And when you're being pressured because their expectation is more from you, from the oldest than the youngest, I felt that, oh my, everything, my parents would always say that whatever I do is always a mistake. I'm always a failure and so on.
yeah,
But uh, that's why I carry that feeling wherein, oh, I'm worthless. I don't I I felt like I don't belong because it's just that I'm the ugly duckling and so on. But
Yeah.
and I was surprised because you're the second to the youngest and you felt that way. So
Yeah, because well, I suppose it definitely wasn't spoiled. Let's put it that way. Okay,
it's
I
not
certainly say
spoiled.
that one. But we would have been hugely competitive.
Oh,
So there are a few entrepreneurs within the family, but we would have been amongst the family dynamic. We would have been very very competitive. So we would have tried to be better than each other, if that makes sense. So hence the reason why you wouldn't have that closeness of a family. It was more around, okay, so how could we have the bigger house, or who could have the better car, or who could have the more money, or the the more holidays and so on. It was that kind of competition. No, which is good, and there's good and bad of all aspects. It's the universal law of duality that there is good and bad, and there is both sides. So, so in growing up in that environment, it wasn't necessarily the environment that I um that caused me to have those thoughts, if that makes sense. So, I didn't have an abusive family. I didn't, we were a typical middle class family. We weren't come from poverty or anything at all. Being an empath and being an intuitive, you pick up on the nuances with everybody. So it's just the deeper feelings that everybody else has around you that you're actually picking up as an empath. And so it wasn't against any particular individual within the family that I had these thoughts. It was more a case of actually I just didn't want to be in this world. I just thought it was the most horrible world ever to be in. But later on in life, I can understand the energetic reason behind that and all that kind of sort of things. And I suppose one thing that did add to it in some regards was, so one of my older brothers would have been born. So he was 7 years older than me, and when he was born, but he died when he was born, and he was born on the 24th of March, 1961, and I was born on the 24th of March, 1968. So 7 years to the day is when I was born after he had passed away. So from an empathic point of view, every time it was my birthday, I was picking up this other energy of my parents, in effect, grieving the other lost son. So it'd be only part of it, but it's hence the reason why it would have been all the research that I would have done over the years and said, look at why am I thinking this way? Why am I feeling it this way? And no matter what therapists that I went to or whatever being so on, they still couldn't give the answers. I had to, in effect, bottom line is I had to climb out of that dark hole myself. I was the only one that was in control of myself. Nobody else could do it. I didn't share with anybody else anyway, but I was the only one that could do it. So, and the best way for me to do that was actually investigating for myself of what I could do in order to get out of that dark hole.
I agree with you because when I was also in my dark bubble, I never shared the problem, my problem with my siblings. They just discovered it when my husband was taken for the restraining order. They asked me why. Because I don't, it's my family, it's us who's supposed to be solving the problem. But the I know some of my friends were there to support me. And I've realized that it also it helped me being surrounded by people who were there to
Yeah,
support me. And I couldn't do it on my own, especially with the two kids. They need the strength from me as well.
yeah.
So I was about what I am trying to ask is, did you did you go for a therapy? What other ways did you take for you to be able to tell yourself that I I really need help? Because it's been a long number of years. Imagine since
Yeah,
10 years old until
yeah,
43,
yeah,
correct?
yeah,
So imagine the number of years that you are stuck in that situation. it's not giving you the life you love. It,
No, exactly that. Um,
uh-huh.
but the turning point was, yeah, the turning point was when my brother passed away. But I remember driving home one time, and the phrase I had in my mind was I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yes.
So I was literally, I was completely exhausted at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And that was when I actually made a phone call then to my wife and explained the situation to her. And that was my first time ever to discuss with anybody. And from that moment on, then she supported me from that perspective. She's always supported me over my whole life, as in our relationship together. But it was that moment when it's hugely grateful from the point of view of, and there's no phrase that we have here in Ireland. I don't know whether it's around the world, but a problem shared is a problem halved.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was. So once I had shared it with my wife, it was like as if I had somebody now to share, not so much to share the problem, but if you understand what I mean, it's the support was there.
Yes.
And it was there. Then I had been to therapists before that I went to confidentially. I just I didn't get the outcome that I was looking for. Being an accountant, I'm very analytical. I want proof. I want evidence. I want, step by step, what can I do and so on. I could never get that from anybody.
Uh-huh.
So it was with the support of my wife then that I started the journey of self-discovery is probably the best way I could do it. I'd been on a journey anyway before that. My first book that I came out with was in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
My brother passed away in 2011, the end of 2011. And so the first book was called Evolve. And that was all about my own spiritual journey and trying to match or to merge spirituality within business. So I'd already been on quite a self-discovery journey anyway. But this was kind of just more rubber stamping it from the point of view of, no, I've got to solve this problem.
Yes. And I'm sure the moment you shared your story to your wife, it was a big relief.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was. Absolutely.
a very big baggage that which you have been
Yeah.
carrying for so many years. It's like, I'm now free. You have not solved it yet, but that was the main first step for
Yeah.
you to
Yeah.
experience that freedom. And
Yeah.
now, and look at what you're doing now, sharing your story to others that, hey, don't worry, we've gone through this journey, through this struggle, but it is really up to us
Yeah.
to really choose that path. Because I believe life is a choice. Do you believe in that? Life?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's everything that you want in life is down to your own making.
Yes.
And that was a big lesson for me to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for people will, and I've been there, so I know what it's like. But people that will be in different difficult situations or difficult circumstances, they are in complete control of what they want their life to be.
Yes.
And it's a starting point for them to make a decision. Now, I'll know, listeners will be saying, yeah, but I've got X. Yeah, but I've got Y. Yeah, but I've got Z. I've got all different things that are happening in my life. But they're giving the control over to the yeah, buts. They're not excuses because I understand people are going through difficulties, but until such times you actually take ownership of your own life and taking control of it, that's the starting point, and it can absolutely be done. Yes, it can be painful at times,
Mm-hmm.
and it is a painful realization as well that you're in complete control of your life. But once you make that decision and take action towards it, your life begins to change.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so now you're not only helping individuals, but you're even helping uh, businesses, the entrepreneurs, because that also impacts their employees.
It
Because
does, yeah.
when you
It's a ripple
deal
effect.
with the head of the
Yeah,
companies,
yeah,
their relationship with their employees, their colleagues makes a difference.
it does. Yeah, absolutely,
Yes.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And you mentioned about being competitive. I would just like to ask you, um, is it because since you're working with organizations, is it really good to compare yourself with others.
No.
No.
Simple answer, no. Judgment is actually the cause of an awful lot of grief for
Mhm.
people. And what I mean by that is judgment of self and it's judgment of others. And in this, so okay, let me step back a little bit because I want people to get this. Every single individual in this life has what I call a shared purpose.
Mhm.
And that shared purpose is to be your genius you, to live life fully, to experience, to love, and to evolve. As soon as we're judging ourselves or judging others, we're not loving. And that's part of our overarching purpose. Now, within our overarching purpose, we have a unique individual life purpose, which is fingerprint specific to every single individual. But as soon as we start judging ourselves, we're making ourselves smaller and our self-worth is decreasing. And we naturally, unconsciously, will judge other people in order to try and build up our own self-worth. But the universe doesn't want that. That's not how the universe works. So the universe wants love. So therefore, the more you lessen the times that you judge yourself, it means you're going to build your self-worth. And the more you lessen judging other people and other circumstances and other things, well, then now you're getting to a point of love. And by getting to a point of love, now that's where you can start to open the flow of manifesting things into your life. Because you cannot manifest things into your life where you're I'm going to say negative towards other things. And that's where people will talk about being grateful and having a sense of gratitude. Having a sense of gratitude brings you into a place of love. And when you're in a place of love, that's when you can start to manifest it. So anybody that judges either themselves, because what we do for ourselves, we do for others. So if we judge ourselves, we're not in a place of love. We've got to love ourselves. And that's the reason why you'll read so many books that talk about that. You know, even what was that book by Louise Hay, which is getting to a point of love with ourselves. You can heal yourself, which is the title of one of her books. It's so many teachers speak about this in terms of understanding love and coming to a point of love. And when you do that, now the ripple effect of that is huge because it changes everything in your life.
I love that. I love that. And I agree with you that it starts really from you. Heal
Yeah,
yourself. And how do you heal? It's loving yourself, self-care. That's why I always tell even my clients, the first thing that you should work on is your health and well-being.
yeah,
Because when you start working on your physical activity, emotional, mental, and spiritual, connected to our ultimate power,
yeah,
our creator, it makes a difference in terms of how you relate with yourself, and it gets transmitted to the people
it
you
does.
engage with,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
interact with,
yeah,
and they mirror it back to you. Whatever you
absolutely.
project, it mirrors
Yeah,
back to you, and that's the main. It impacts now your work performance. It impacts how you view life. It impacts how you you spread that positivity to other people, and
yeah,
then you get connected more with other people, and
yeah,
that's how you create a ripple effect. I
it
love
does.
that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So, now with what your books and what you're doing as a consultant, what is now your goal or goals for the next 12 months?
I've two main ones really. One is to promote the recent book, Genius Unlocked. It's only out literally less than a month. So I'm promoting that at the moment. And even though I've only just published a book, I'm in the process of writing my next book.
Wow.
So
Wow.
my aim is to have that completed by the end of this year.
Okay.
And that's going to be quite a comprehensive book. I've been working on it for must be 5 or 6 years now at this stage. And it's basically it's bringing all my teachings together that I've been teaching clients in relation to the universe, how the universe works, The law of attraction is just one of the universal laws. There's 12 universal laws. It talks about suicide. It talks about how to come out of that, because again, I've developed my own methodology in relation to helping an individual from a suicide perspective, which is different than conventional side of things. So yeah, that's my next, that's the plan I'm working on at the minute. And
Wonderful.
that's the aim.
And then you're planning to publish this year?
Publish that by the end of this year. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, wow. I'm so excited. And I'm sure a lot of your followers will be looking forward to your next book. Another
They are they keep
best-selling
pushing me
book.
to get it finished. Yeah, yeah, they keep pushing me. Yeah,
Yes. See, that's the thing, no? When you are inspired by what you do, you know your why, you know your purpose. It's so easy for you to share what
yeah,
your life story, to share what you've learned in life, your life's lessons, and impart this life's lesson and your wisdom to other people so they may also learn
it's
and
trying to help other people.
yeah,
That's
and that's the purpose
collectively, if we all
behind.
help,
Yes.
it's a different
So,
world.
so what do you think would be the major roadblock in achieving your goal?
Um, I honestly don't see any roadblocks
Mhm.
right now at the moment. Um, it's I keep trying to figure out, okay, so how else could I reach more and more people? And that's the only thing. It's one of my chief aims that I want to achieve before I exit this life. Um, but I don't see it as a roadblock as such. I kind of just see it as being it's something that I work on,
Yeah.
and it keeps me trying to come up with new ideas and different ways, and allowing those inspired thoughts to come true, to say, okay, now do X, and now you can reach more and more people. So that's
Actually, the major roadblock is ourselves.
it
If we
is,
stop,
yeah.
yeah, if we
We can get
stop.
in our own way. Yeah,
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah, but that's yeah, we have a lot of probably along the way some challenges along the way that we will meet, but if we're not really focused on our purpose and our dream of create or writing or finishing this book, then it will not it won't be a reality. I mean, we
yeah.
won't be able to make it as a reality. So, before we end, what simple advice would you like to share to our listeners?
I think the more and this is applicable to everybody and to everything in people's lives. Um, and it's not until you really experience this that you really understand how it works. I'm sure I can rest assured many listeners have heard from the point of view of the power of your mind and the power of your thoughts. And people will kind of dismiss it in some respects. However, I've time and time and time again and even with clients, I'll see it happening whereby they'll go into a cycle, and something happens and it kind of knocks them off kilter, and they go back into negative thinking. And all that happens, I can even predict it from the point of view of, as soon as they start getting into negative thinking, um, all the circumstances that show up in their life will be negative. So the one piece of advice is literally is to take control of your thoughts. And the more you can bring your thoughts into, I'm going to say two things because it has to come in the two of them have to go hand in hand. The more you have better thoughts, it's going to increase your vibration. And everything is frequency, everything is energy. So if I speak along these lines, you'll understand what I mean by increasing your vibration. Now, the easiest way is to find and do something that you absolutely love to do. And that for me could be anything. It could be going for a walk in nature. It could be going horse riding. It could be going, it could be going for a swim. It could be going for a walk along the sea. It could be anything. There's a whole list of all different things of what can raise think about what can raise your mood. And once you've raised your mood, you've increased your vibration. And once you've increased your vibration, your thoughts are much better as well. So the two of them always go hand in hand. Now, even though if you want to bring anything into your life from a manifesting perspective, you have to be at that higher vibration. It just won't work otherwise. If you're at a lower vibration whereby you're in a bad mood or you're thinking negative thoughts or your energy within yourself is low, you're not going to manifest what you want. So the key to it is actually getting to that higher vibration. And the easiest way is just do something that's fun. And once you start to do something that's fun, it's going to automatically bring you up into a higher vibration and try and maintain that high vibration as much as you possibly can. Look out for what I call the energy vampires. What are the things that are around you, whether it be your environment or whether it be people that suck the energy from you. And now you've got a decision to make in your own mind with regards, whether you want to be around those people. Some people you can't not be around, but you still have a choice as regards whether you want to limit the exposure that you have to those people. So be careful of or be aware of the energy vampires in your life in order to maintain yourself at a higher level energy. Peak performers do this in terms of, whether it be in sports, we've had, our Irish champion win the golf tournament there only literally a couple of weeks ago. He has to keep at a peak performance. His mindset is 90% of the game, and the physical game itself of golf is only 10%. So when it comes to business, when it comes to your life, when it comes to everything that you want, whether it be money, abundance, relationship, health, whatever it might be, it starts with your mindset. Absolutely does.
Absolutely. Where your attention goes, energy flows.
It
That's
does.
what I
Absolutely.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with you. It makes a difference if you're surrounded by the people who lifts you up, who
Yeah.
supports you, who believes in you, and and I, because there are a lot of toxic in the environment,
Absolutely is. Yeah.
and that really drains you. And as what you've mentioned, it sucks up your energy.
Yeah.
So, and that will stop you from moving forward
It
to where
does.
you
Yeah.
want to go.
Yeah.
So, and would you like to share how our listeners would be able to connect with you?
Sure. Yeah. The easiest way is through my website, which
Mhm.
is davisbusinessconsultants.com. Davis is spelled Davis. So it's davisbusinessconsultants.com. There's ways of how people can connect with me. All my books are on the website. You can still buy them on Amazon, but if you want the direct links to find them on Amazon, they're there on my website. And I've a load of different free resources, all again to help people not just from a business perspective, but also from a personal perspective, because the two of them are intertwined. For me, it's once you figure out your purpose, you develop yourself, well, then the business will flow. Absolutely does. So yeah, the easiest way is through my website, davisbusinessconsultants.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Paul, for spending time with me and sharing your story. It was a wonderful story, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners would be inspired by your story. And now, look what you have done, helping other people, and that's the most important thing. You have evolved, and now
Thank you.
helping others, making
Thank
an.
you.
Thank you so much again, and for our listeners. Till next episode. Thank you.